to California.
Get the place moving, 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 jumping around, we cruising.
What's up, YouTube? It's me, Artisan MC, and I'm here today to review RRR on Netflix. Now, my first shot goes out to the Green Gorilla for suggesting this movie. I knew about the movie. I had it on my queue to watch, but I had not found the time to watch it until on Dr. Johnson's stream. Gigi mentioned the movie and asked us all to watch it, and watch it in the sense of looking at what it meant for nationalism and how Black nationalism in America right now paled in comparison to what we saw on the screen. In doing so for the good Dr. Gigi, I went ahead and watched the movie. And initially, I fell asleep on the last, I believe, 30 minutes of the movie because the movie would be considered long, 3 hours and 7 minutes. But by comparison, it's about standard for a movie nowadays. If you've seen Dune, if you've seen The Hobbit or anything like that, any of these movies that have come out in the last 5 years, they've been about 3 hours long. So it's not long in that sense. It's just if you're used to what you're watching. And for most, you will be surprised by what you're watching. If you've never seen a movie from India, it may be a little humorous in some ways to you what goes on in the movie outside of the action and the storytelling, how they see themselves, how they express themselves and their culture in their movies is completely different. They will break out in a song in a minute and dance and smile and all of that, or a song will kick in a very action-oriented scene, and it will tell you the story of the character that's on the screen. All of that is what you get in this movie, RRR. Now, the movie was made, or the movie came out this year in 2022. But the movie had initially started being made back in November of 2018. The journey for this movie to be made was about 2 years and 9 months and some change from the initial start of principal photography and then the finish of the movie. That means that this movie was filming in and around India all the way through the pandemic. And to me, that is monumental because in my view, I look at movies nowadays as pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. Anything that was filming during the pandemic, I try to make sure I give it a watch because that had to be, absolutely had to be the worst time to try to make a movie with all the new restrictions and figuring this whole thing out. Can't have people breathing on you, but at the same time, you're supposed to make a movie. I can imagine it was a bit challenging, to say the least. So the journey for this movie to get made and put out in theaters was an awesome undertaking. Now, since its release, this movie has made a lot of money worldwide. And by American standards, says that the movie cost about $69 million to make. American standards, that's probably like a drop in the bucket. You only make TV shows for that kind of money. But worldwide, it has made more than that. Its 1 day total in that time was 30 million. So it almost made half of its money back in 1 day of worldwide release. That's amazing to me. And all of this is to just give you a little primer for what it means to watch a Hindi movie on Netflix and to see the level of cinematography, special effects, fight choreography, and story that went into this. Now, RRR is a fictional story by S.S. Rajamouli. Forgive me if I say some of these names wrong, if I pronounce them wrong. And it is a fictional account of two real life revolutionaries from India in their history. And it takes place around the 1920s. During this time in this part of India, British colonizers are there and they have installed their rule and they're running different provinces. And during that time, some Indies have taken in with the British occupiers and got training and become soldiers, and some still live, off in the jungle, in the forest, and just live a simple life under their occupation. Now, the story opens on a small village in the jungles where this woman, this Caucasian woman by the name of Lady Scott, is there in this village and they're honoring her, and young girls are singing and doing henna tattoos or whatnot on her skin. And she is so taken by this that she tells her attendant to offer the people a couple of shillings, and she walks away with their daughter. Now, the people in this village, being, what we would call country, don't really understand what's going on here. But when they see the daughter being led away by Lady Scott, they protest. The mother of this daughter does everything she can to try to retrieve her daughter from Lady Scott. And here's where you get the first appearance of somebody that you would recognize in this movie, and that is in the form of Ray Stevens, who is Governor Scott, the husband of Lady Scott. And what you find out through this is that Governor Scott does not give a damn about these Indian people. He doesn't care. He treats them like they are nothing. And while the mother of the young girl that's being taken, the young girl Molly, is begging and pleading in front of their vehicle not to take her daughter away from her, and the rest of the village is really up in arms about it. The soldier there with Governor Scott wants to put a bullet in the woman because Governor Scott tells him to move it. And when he pulls out his pistol, Governor Scott stops him and tells him to think about how expensive this one bullet is. Made by English in English factories, shipped by English over English ships, brought into this country to put in the weapons of English and an Englishman, and that the bullet itself is too expensive and worth too much to be wasted on brown people. Now, this is the part of the movie where you understand the tone of what is going on in these 1920s. These British colonizers don't give a damn about these Indian people. They are, in their view, savages. And being American, and Black American at that, I understand this sentiment all too well. And seeing this actually portrayed on screen against people who are not Black people, in a weird way, is refreshing. In a weird way, it's refreshing. But I'll come back to that. Now, after Governor Scott gives the speech, the soldier that is in front of Molly's mother puts his pistol away and looks around, finds a stump of wood, stump of a tree, and comes back over to Molly's mother, swings and hits her square in the head, knocking her the hell out. Now, this is a point in the movie where they let you know the graphic tone of this movie. He flat out hit a woman in the side of the head with a tree trunk, basically, and knocked her flat. That is objectionable. Every bone in your body will cringe when you see something like that. But they are depicting a story of what they understood of this time in this country where this was commonplace. Right? Now, from this part, the villagers tend to the mother, and Governor Scott, Lady Scott, with Molly in tow, go ahead and drive off, and they leave that village in their rearview mirror and drive on, basically kidnapping their daughter because Lady Scott likes the way she draws and sings, so she just takes her like she is just property. She's just something she found in the jungle. Now, from this scene, you get to introducing one of the main characters of the story. And this is the character of Olori Sitarama Raja. I think I said that right. And he's played by Ram Charan. Now, I had never seen Ram Charan in a movie, but this is the first time I'm seeing him, and he does cut a profile. He does cut a profile. And you feel his presence on the screen when he's on the screen. Now, as I told you before, this character that he is playing is not really a character. It's not a fictional character. It is a real person. This is taken from a real person's life. He was a revolutionary in India, pushing out the British. So, understanding that now, the way Ramcharan plays this character, he plays it seriously. He takes this character seriously. And you can tell this character is not about that bullshit. Raja is not about it. And this first scene where there is basically a low-key riot or a protest surrounding this, what would be considered a police station of British. And all these Hindis on the outside of these fences trying to get in, revolting because they want their leader that was captured by these policemen returned. The order is given to stop a man who has thrown a rock. And the character Raju, goes out to settle it. And from this, you get the first fight scene of many in this movie. The only thing I can say about this fight scene is that I was thoroughly in awe of what I was seeing at this time. This fight scene with Ram Charan going out into a sea, and mind you, this is pre-COVID, so these are real people going out into a sea of people with nothing more than his billy club or stick and going after the rock thrower in the group looked like something out of Hero. Word of God. It looked like something I had seen in Hero or something from Tony Jaa. That's the closest approximation I can see of it. And what you see in this scene is the character of Roj. I keep saying his name different every time. Well, I apologize. How determined and fixated he is on the given goal, that he will let nothing stop him. And from this scene, you get the idea he is not about the games. He is not about that. There is nothing that can stop him once he locks his eyes on a goal and sets his mind to this is what I'm going to accomplish. This is the mission that needs to get done. This fight scene is absolutely amazing. There were different parts in it that I may have recognized from other movies. Like I'm saying, mass fight scene with everyone around him, same thing as Jet Li and Hero. The different points in it where he's getting swarmed by people, it may look like Reloaded, where Neo was taking on 100 agents. But what it does is that it shows that this man will not be deterred. There's no super fantastic, you know, feats going on, but he is just bound and determined to complete his mission. And it's an awesome scene. It really is an awesome scene because I caught myself at different points gasping, like, "Oh shit!" It's amazing scene. It's worth a watch on its own. You know, on its own on rewatch, it's worth a watch. Now, the conclusion of this scene is Raj coming back, having dealt with and got to the rock thrower in that group, and coming back beaten and bloody back over the fence into the station to stand his post. And after that, everybody just back up. They just bag way up when he's standing there because they understand he's about business and he will not be deterred. Now, this is the first time outside of a Bollywood movie I've seen a Hindi man really masculine, really kicking ass and taking names, because this is not the common trope that you see in American cinema or just Western cinema in general of Hindi men. This is not what you see. Usually they're passive, kind of play for a joke, very docile. This is not what you see. And this is further emphasized when you get to the introduction of the second main character, played by N.T. Rama Rao Jr., and he's playing the character of Cameron Bean. Now, this character is a character from the jungle, and he is tasked with going out and finding the young girl Molly, who was kidnapped by Lady Scott and Governor Scott, and bringing that young girl back to the tribe, back to her family in the jungles. Now, this character, Beam, is a huge freaking dude. And this goes into something else that I have previously never seen, which is a very masculine and put together Hindi man. And it shouldn't be weird because I'm a man just like most people are, and understand that any man that works out can get big and get muscular. That's just how it is. But this is the first that you're actually seeing this played in this way. And it goes back to what I was just saying about the Raj character. He is a masculine man. And this is not something that is shown in this culture, in Western culture, as what they are ever. I mean, this stands in sharp contrast to a show that recently came out, which was Ms. Marvel on Disney Plus, which was kind of a Hindi family. But the men are not portrayed like this. They're tall, they're skinny, but they're not really there for the fight. The men in this movie are there for the fight. And when you're introduced to Beam, you see him covering himself in blood and different things and going out in the jungle and finding predators to outrun and test himself. And through this, you see his strength, his cunning, his fearlessness, his speed, even when the wolf that is chasing him is actually joined by a tiger. You see the fight in this man. You see the strength in this man and the utter fearlessness that he has. And you get the understanding that, like the original, the other main character, Raj, being is not about this mess either. And this is another real life person, not a fictional character. And that's the thing that you should really understand from this movie. Although the story is fictional, the characters are not. These were real people that were revolutionaries in their country to bring their country back to freedom. Now, the rest of the story plays out in a sense that you understand that Raj and Beam are going to come together at some point. And this is where the movie takes its editorial license to say that the possibility of these two characters who in history might never have met before actually get to meet. Now, how they meet, I'm going to leave for you to watch the movie and find out. But in this movie, they actually do. And what you discover is the two characters actually have a lot in common and actually enjoy each other and become friends. But like most things in action movies, there is a mission that each has. And through the course of the movie, their missions end up coming into conflict with each other. And they have to resolve that. Now, there are other characters in this movie, but I want to keep this short. And I will just say that one of the best parts of this movie was seeing things that you don't usually see. Now, although I just described these two characters, Raj and Beam, as being very masculine men, that masculinity is not taken away from them when the characters, for story's sake, break out in song or dance. Now, if you've watched any Bollywood or Hindi movies, you understand song and dance is part of their culture. It's a huge part of their culture. And the most interesting part about that is that in their culture, a man dancing is not considered silly. It's not. It's actually revered. It's actually a positive. It's something that you're supposed to do. And in this sense, this was not the point that Gigi was given about the nationalism, but it is a point to me on the masculinism of this story and the characters in this story. They are able to be full men. They're able to be full men. They get to have their physical faculties, their mental faculties, their emotional faculties for why they are doing what they're doing, their hardships in the course of their duties and what put them on the path that they have. But they also get to love. They also get to care about the people around them. They also get to emote and have feelings for people and also show joy in dance and just being happy in the moment, in the situation. And it doesn't take anything away from all the rest that they have already shown. Once you watch the movie, you kind of accept the fact that although Raj is this very good fighter, he's also a very good dancer. He does get beat up. He's just not invincible or invulnerable to any harm. He's not. He actually gets hurt, just like Beam. He also is hurt. And this is part of in a comic book sense, which would be the hero's journey. But these were real people, right? Story is fictional, but the people are real. And that's what really ties this all together once you watch the movie for its spectacle and how interesting it is. Once it's over and you realize these characters were real, this really happened. This is a part of their history. You get the understanding that there is more going on in this world than just the Western ideas that are pushed on you all the time. There is none of the gender bending, flag waving, rainbow stuff in this movie. It is not. This culture does not highlight any of that at all. There is none of that. And it's not worse off for it. It's not. It's just that their culture is not focused solely on this. Their culture in this story focuses on the struggle of people to be free and two individuals that fought for their people to actually be free of actual tyranny. It's a powerful story. And to Gigi's credit, I thank him for bringing it to my attention to influence me more so to push it up on my list and watch it and not let it sit there until I got around to it. I think for me, I am better for having seen this movie because it's given me a lot to think about and match up between our two cultures, being Western culture and the Hindi culture, and how they do a movie and how we do a movie. Because there were points in this movie, it doesn't look any different, or it was actually more epic than anything I would have seen out of an Avengers movie. Big budget box office movie. They're doing the same stuff. I was that involved in the characters. I was that champion of these characters and wanted to see them win. Both of them. Even at times when I hated one of them. Came back around and like, oh, this is my dude. Good. There is no feminism present in this at all. There's none of those ills that we talk about and rail about regularly in Western cinema right now. None of that is in there. And it doesn't take away from the potency of the movie. So for me, RRR is worth a watch. And that's why I'm doing this review, to actually try to inspire a couple of folks to actually watch something outside of your normal comfort zone and give this movie a watch. It's important for you as a Westerner, as us as Westerners, to get a view into other cultures outside of us from their eyes, not ours. From their eyes, and learn about their culture and their heroes and the people they look up to for the reasons they look up to them. It gives you a better understanding of their culture. And to me, that's how you actually become a citizen of the world, because you understand other people in the world have different things that they value. So that's my review of RRR. Like, share, subscribe, support the stream if you feel so inclined. And I will see you guys next time. Peace.
Haja chore, haja gore, haja chore, nacho, 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 veer nacho, 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 yara nacho, 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 aguara rag cheda nacho, 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 usne chekka lage tikha nacho.
You want to tell it to me?
We can't wait for the solar an illusion. Hey, hey,